recording? Yes, okay. Alright guys, guess what? I'm about to take you on the first of my beekeeping journey. So this is just a little tripod. I'm carrying it so it's easy for me. And that's my beehive. So this is my first, it's a Horizontal Layens, it's my first beehive, and I just bought, I just bought it. I just got my first nuke Saturday, and they're pretty calm. You can see the entrance right there. I decided to put the entrance underneath it as opposed to on the front. But last year, I spent some time making this piggy. It's probably, I don't know, a quarter acre of just open space. And what I did, and I'm gonna probably put 3 or 4 hives here, but I wanted to tell you the story of me getting my first nuke because it was a rodeo. It was a goddamn rodeo. It was a goddamn rodeo. And let me get this set up real quick. All right. There we go. So the hive should be behind me, and basically what I've never transported a nuke, I've never used a nuke, so I went to, and forgive me, I'm not gonna, this person shall remain nameless, however, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are in beekeeping, you probably are going to be able to guess, but this was in Kentucky, and there was a bee supplier. Oh no, it was a fairly large distributor, okay? In fact, it used to be a local company, it was recently acquired. And because there were specific genetics, was it VSH? Varroa Hygienic, whatever it is. I like to say VHS because it reminds me of that Weird Al movie back in the late 90s. What is that? UHF? Anyway, my point is that I went there, and I had helped my mom beekeep a couple times when she needed me to lift the supers on her Langstroth hive, and I did it. And at the time, I worked out a bit more than I do now. But the point is that even though I was relatively fit, I did not enjoy picking those things up. So I realized I'm not going to do that. So I found Dr. Leo in the Horizontal Hive system, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. My mom and I, about a year ago, went to his classes that he has in Missouri, in Kabul, which was awesome. And I decided, you know what, like, this is just, it's simple, and it's at a point where, as a beginner, I feel comfortable doing it. And the one thing that I really liked was when you open the hive with the intact frames up top, that the hive doesn't know you're there, really. And that's what I really liked about it primarily. So I built my own hive. As you can tell, if you look on this side, the gap right there, I have very few tools and I have very minimal skills. So it's my first hive, and there's some mistakes. And one of those mistakes was not having the hinges properly on before the hive showed, or before the nuke showed up. So, but let me get back to the nuke story, because I just got it this past Saturday, and it was an absolute rodeo. I go down there, and they have a store. So I walk in, I see the store, and then the last thing I'm going to do is pick up the nuke. Okay, now I've only dealt with my mom's hive maybe 3 times in the past year and a half, 2 years, whenever she's needed help pulling honey or lifting the super just for a spring check, whatever. And short story, I go there, which is to say that I have only dealt with calm hives. Okay, I didn't realize how angry bees can get. If you see where this is going. So as I get there, I buy a few things, a hive tool, like a couple pounds of wax for some foundation. I use foundationless, and I put some strips in there. Actually just did that tonight. But I can tell you this, after lifting that hive and trying to correct those hinges tonight, they do not like the lid being lifted. So as we're there, we pull in, I buy the stuff, and then they have you drive around the back, and everybody's suited up, and I kind of started laughing at this girl because there was, not laughing at her, but I was like, they got you suited up, like, and she was sitting there alone, like in a field, like by herself, and I'm like, this is odd. But then I start to drive over to where they have the nukes, and boy, were they angry. Okay, they were really, really angry, and there were just clouds and clouds and clouds of bees, and they did not want to be there. And the short story is that when I was picking it up, I just got out thinking like, oh, whatever, no big deal. Like, I'll just, But they had me put a Post-it note on my windshield, and it was a sunny day, and it was very windy, okay? And literally the night before, pollens and oaks opened up. So there was pollen everywhere. So I put the Post-it note on thing, and within 3 seconds, it blew off of my windshield, okay? So it was a Post-it note on pollen, and I had rinsed my car off before I went there because it was so dirty. Like, that's how, I don't wash my car, but it was dirty, so I washed it off. So I go there, I post it, and I'm like, oh shit. So I pick it up, I bring it in the car with me, and I bought specifically the Varroa sensitive genetics because I wanted it, because I'm new and I want that margin for error, right? So I get there, and because there's like 3 or 4 people, there's like the lady who took my name or whatever, and then I moved on to a guy who like walked up to me, I rolled my window down, but he didn't get too close, and so I was like, is he gonna talk to me? Like, what's going on? And I realized he was maintaining his space because he had 3 dozen angry bees dive bombing his face at all times. And so then that's when he asked me, do you want a bag? And I was like, what's a bag for? And the bag, apparently you put it around the nuke to keep the bees in the nuke so that they don't fly out into your car while you're driving in your car. And I'm like, well, how much are they? He goes, $15. So I'm like, I don't have cash. Like, I just went to the store and nobody told me about it. I was here to pick up a nuke. No one said anything. In addition, I was told that I would get emails regarding scheduling and so forth. And I think I only got a confirmation, and I bought this back in like late November, December, okay? So I only got a singular email. One email, and it was like 4 months, that was 5, almost 6 months ago. Just one email, okay? And so I called ahead of time because I hadn't known what was going on. They said, oh, it's the 16th. Well, turns out the 16th is Easter. People have family, whatever. So they call me the Thursday before Easter to tell me it was rescheduled. So disappointment number 1. Disappointment number 2. When I was there, I wasn't told about the bag. So the emails is what I would expect the protocol for pickup to be, right? And none of that was communicated to me. And so it was really, really difficult. And you're about to get to the goat rodeo in a minute. But when I showed up and I went and they showed me the nuke, whatever, they didn't warn me about anything. So the nuke is over there. The box, it's a pro nuke or whatever. It's like orange and a yellow lid. But it was a medium Langstreth. And so I had to convert it to get into this Layens, and I have no intention to use any equipment from Langstreth, none whatsoever, after seeing Dr. Leo's. And what I plan on doing for this, Dr. Leo has a conversion thing, and so I looked up the plans, and basically what he did was he rotated it sideways and cut a notch. He had all his spacer, and he put a block in it so that they don't make comb or whatever. But long story short, I destructively adapted it, okay, because I have no desire. In fact, I've checked it tonight. My bees have already drawn 4 inches of comb that's kind of like teardrop shaped on a frame that's 3 frames away from the Langstreth hive. So they're working, man. They're as far as genetics, I can't complain about that. They're happy, and they've got resources, and they're working. So things are good. But Now keep in mind it's Monday. I put them in on Saturday, and I probably got them in at 5 or 6 p.m. even though I picked them up at 1. So I get there, my Post-it note blows off. I don't get any, I don't even know what to call it, like procedural aspects about how to do this. None of that, right? Like I could have gone with local people. I could have gone with, but I guess for some reason I expected better communication from the bigger people. And lordy, I was wrong. Okay, I was really, really wrong. So the thing that really chaps my hide the most, though, was when that guy, I had rolled the window down and I was talking to him. And so she gets one caught in her hair. She freaks out and starts screaming, and it hits her in the cheek, so she gets stung. And then I'm like, Jesus Christ. And so I get out, and then next thing you know, 3 or 4 more bees are bee bombing me. I'm getting it. And I'm gonna see if this doesn't work. In short story, they start attacking my daughter. And so she's freaking out. Now, I've done tree work before, which means I've climbed trees, I've been in power lines, I've been in ice, I've been in rain, I've been in all of stressful situations, power outages, all of that. Like, I've done stressful situations. But when your daughter starts panicking and screaming bloody murder, there is a button in your genes that the sound of your kid presses, and it is full panic, and you're like, and you just start, you just go. And so once that happened, the trip became a little bit more stressful, obviously, and that was something I didn't predict. And so we get out of there and 10 minutes go by, and a couple of bees are in the car, and so my daughter's still a little nervous, and I'm really working on coaching her, and so it took me a few minutes. I'm like, hey sweetie, if you're scared, don't scream, don't flail, don't move, but tell me where they are and I will work the windows to try to get them out, right? I will work, I'll roll the windows down, blow them over to one side, and that worked pretty well. And then I cracked it on my side so that if I opened hers, it would blow them past her on the rear windshield towards me. They would come up the other side, I'd crack the window, they'd climb up and fly out. Well, guess what? They got out of the nuke, and thousands of them got out. I would estimate 3,000 to 5,000 got out. And they kept working their way up the rear windshield. And so I probably had at the peak, I would say 25 bees in my hive, in my car, threatening to scare the bejesus out of my daughter. And it's funny now. Y'all see that sunset? And anyway, but I guess to go back to where, I don't know, like the conversation with the gentleman at that distributor for that hive, for that nuke, I don't know if he even saw my Post-it note. Meaning, I don't know if I got VSH. I don't know if I got that. So I have no idea if I got what I ordered. I have no idea if, like just how it worked. And so I don't know if these are Italians, if they're Russians, but I can tell you this. They were fucking angry when they got back to my shop. And they were so angry that when I opened the lid of my trunk, there were bees, everywhere. The only place they weren't was on the upside of the lid of the trunk. That's the only place they weren't. But turns out I gave up and I just said, you know what? They're so angry I can't deal with this, because when bees want to sting you, like if a bee's flying by, I know this now, if bees are flying by you, They're just flying. When a bee intends to sting you, it will fly the straightest path directly to your eyeballs. I'm not kidding. I got one here, two here, and two here. So they attack the eyes and face. And I had my sunglasses on so it made your eyes more visible. And I thought I could channel my inner dirt rooster yesterday and channel my inner amazing beekeeper. This thing, because I thrashed it so hard, you can see the oil and sweat marks on this thing because it's so disgusting. But the smell of it must have attracted them because it was one of the first places that they kept dive bombing. So now that I have my hive, but the thing that was impressive about beekeeping as a young beekeeper was that when these bees, when I had to call my mom, short story, I had to call my mom, and she brought over a bee suit. They were that angry. And what happened? As soon as I got the bee suit on, opened the nuke, and pulled the frames out, all of the bees that were angry, once they got back to the queen, I am not kidding, the size of the angry cloud went from, let's just say 30 feet, 45 feet of like a halo of angry bees. It dropped down to like 4 feet. I am not kidding. It happened in it was like 3 or 4 minutes. It was crazy how quick it changed. It was bam, it was like that. And so once that happened, I was able to work them. I was able to put them in. I would sweep them off. I converted it. I cut the tab off. I anchored I screwed it in to the top bar for the layens. I screwed it, then I mounted it. And once they had access to comb and the queen, it was over. It was night and day difference between what the angry bees were and the transported nuke bees were. They were a nuke. They were nuclear. They were waiting to go off. It was bananas. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. This is my first hive, and since it's my first hive, it's kind of my ugliest hive. I actually have 2 more in there that are completed. I need to complete the lids. But based on how the genetics are of these piggies, I'm gonna try and do a walkaway split this year, I think, so I can have a second hive and keep them in my, this is going to be meadow grasses and prairie flowers and all that stuff. So, and those are my trucks because this is what I call my ghetto homestead. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to reach out. My name's Joseph. You can stalk me on the internet and you can find me. Feel free to call, email. I'll be happy to answer questions. But this is my first hive, and shout out to the Dirt Rooster for, I'll be posting a podcast interview that I did with him. I think we went 3 hours, so it was a good one. But we will be posting that shortly. I hope you guys are well. Here's to beekeeping.